She stepped off the dusty train with trembling hands and a heart full of dread. Stories had painted the cowboy as a hard man who bought a bride only to control her. She expected cold eyes, harsh rules, and a life without warmth. Instead, he stood still for a moment, studying her fear, then slowly walked closer. The wind went quiet as he reached out, not with force but with care, and gently took her shaking hand. His voice was low and steady when he said, "Welcome home." The words felt unreal, almost dangerous, because kindness could break her more than cruelty. She searched his face for hidden anger, but saw only loneliness and hope. Why would a feared cowboy greet a stranger with such softness? What truth was he hiding behind that calm smile? And would that gentle welcome change the destiny she thought was already doomed forever? Now the young woman had crossed miles of land and silence, carrying memories she never spoke aloud. Every station she passed felt like another goodbye to the life she once knew. People had warned her that a mail-order bride was often treated as duty, not love, and those whispers followed her like shadows. When the ranch finally appeared on the horizon, wide and lonely under the fading sky, her chest tightened with quiet panic. She wondered if the man waiting there saw her as a partner or merely a solution to his own loneliness. She held her small bag tightly, as if it contained the last pieces of her courage. The wind moved through the empty fields, sounding almost like a warning. Was this journey leading her toward safety? Or was she walking into a life where her voice and dreams would slowly disappear forever, without anyone to save her? Night settled over the ranch like a quiet test she was not ready to face. The long shadows inside the house made every corner feel unknown, and she stood near the doorway, unsure where she was allowed to sit or breathe. She expected strict orders, a list of duties, or a cold reminder that she had been brought here by agreement, not affection. Instead, the cowboy placed a simple meal on the table and stepped back, giving her room as if her comfort mattered more than his authority. She watched him carefully, searching for hidden impatience, yet his movements remained calm and respectful. He did not stare, did not question her past, and did not demand gratitude. This gentle distance unsettled her more than anger ever could, because cruelty was easy to understand, but kindness felt dangerous and unfamiliar. She ate slowly, tasting both warmth and doubt, wondering what price such quiet care might demand later. When the wind rattled the windows, she flinched, but he only lit a lantern and said she could rest whenever she wished. His voice carried no command, only steady reassurance that echoed in the silent room. Still, her heart refused to trust so quickly, and she kept waiting for the moment his patience would fade and reveal the truth everyone had warned her about. He remained composed, fixing small things around the house, almost as if he feared getting too close would frighten her more. The distance between them felt strange, filled with unspoken questions that neither dared to ask. She noticed the tired lines on his face and sensed loneliness hidden behind his controlled manners. Why would a man known for toughness choose gentleness with a stranger who owed him nothing but presence? The thought troubled her, because it suggested he carried wounds as deep as her own. Later, when he showed her a modest room and quietly left the door open so she would not feel trapped, a fragile confusion settled inside her chest. Safety had never looked like this before, soft and patient instead of demanding and loud. She sat on the edge of the bed, listening to the quiet house, and wondered if this first night was a promise or a careful illusion that could disappear by morning. She lay awake, counting each second, unsure whether peace was real or only the calm before hidden storms. Her eyes moved toward the open doorway, expecting him to appear with sudden rules or regret, yet the hallway stayed empty and gentle with quiet light. That silence pressed on her thoughts, forcing her to question every fear she had carried across the long journey. If he truly meant to harm her, why would he offer safety without chains or conditions? The question lingered like a fragile hope she was almost afraid to touch, because hope could shatter faster than any cruel word. So she remained still, guarding her heart while the quiet night slowly wrapped around her, leaving tomorrow to reveal whether morning would bring comfort or quiet regret that would change everything she had begun to feel. The next days unfolded slowly, and she watched him from a careful distance, studying the small details that revealed more truth than words ever could. He rose early to work, yet always checked that she had what she needed before stepping outside, as if her presence had quietly become part of his responsibility. When strangers from nearby land arrived, his posture turned protective without becoming possessive, and he spoke of her with simple respect that surprised her more each time. She noticed the way his eyes softened when he thought she was not looking, carrying a loneliness that felt older than their meeting, like a wound sealed but never healed. He never tried to stand too close or demand conversation, yet he listened whenever she chose to speak, giving her attention that felt steady and sincere. This careful balance confused her heart, because she had expected control but found patience instead, and patience demanded courage to accept. One afternoon she saw him pause near the fence, holding a worn object in his hand before quickly hiding it when he sensed her presence. And that single moment revealed that his past still followed him like a silent shadow. The discovery made her realize he was not distant out of pride, but out of fear that closeness might reopen memories he struggled to bury. She began to notice how gently he treated even the animals, never raising his voice, guiding them with calm authority that showed strength shaped by restraint rather than anger. Each gesture told a story of someone who had once loved deeply and lost painfully, and that understanding slowly replaced her suspicion with fragile empathy. Still, she guarded her trust, aware that kindness could sometimes be temporary, yet nothing in his behavior hinted at hidden cruelty or secret calculation. When storms rolled across the horizon, he secured the house and left her room untouched, explaining quietly that she deserved a place that felt entirely her own. That statement stayed with her long after he walked away, echoing like an unexpected promise that she had not dared to imagine. She realized then that he did not see her as a burden sent by agreement, but as a person whose comfort mattered in ways he never spoke aloud. The growing awareness unsettled her more than fear had, because accepting goodness required letting go of the protective walls she had built for survival. She watched him again that evening, noticing how his tired gaze softened when he believed she felt safe, and she understood that his gentleness was not an act but a shield covering a heart marked by loss. That realization filled the quiet air with new tension, not born from danger, but from the possibility that two wounded souls might slowly recognize each other and begin to heal, without even knowing when that silent change truly began. That evening the sky was painted with soft orange and pink hues, and she found herself standing near the edge of the porch, heart pounding as the silence between them stretched longer than usual, until finally the words escaped her lips, trembling yet determined. "Why did you choose me?" The cowboy turned slowly, his eyes reflecting the fading light, a mixture of hesitation and vulnerability she had never seen before, and he spoke with a quiet honesty that cut through all her fear and suspicion. "I did not want a servant. I did not want property. I wanted someone who could walk beside me, someone who could heal with me." The weight of his confession hit her in a way nothing else had, and suddenly the walls she had spent years building around her heart began to crumble, brick by brick, leaving space for emotions she had long thought impossible to feel: trust, hope, and even a delicate sense of belonging. She studied his face, noticing the faint lines carved by pain and experience, realizing that his past had been as lonely and difficult as her own, and that this moment was not just about him choosing her, but about two wounded souls daring to reach for connection despite fear. The wind whispered through the nearby trees, carrying a quiet calm that seemed to confirm the truth in his words, and she felt tears well up, not from sorrow, but from a profound relief that kindness and love could exist without conditions, without calculation, without the harshness she had braced for. She stepped closer instinctively, yet hesitated, unsure if it was her heart or her courage that pushed her forward, and when he did not flinch or withdraw, she realized that he had offered her not just words but safety, respect, and an invitation to be truly herself. In that fragile moment, the ranch around them felt less like a place of uncertainty and more like a space where healing could begin, where laughter and quiet comfort might coexist with the lingering shadows of past pain. Every gesture he made, from the way he brushed dirt off the porch to the careful way he poured her tea, suddenly held a new significance, a silent pledge that she was valued not for obligation, but for who she was. The vulnerability in his voice, the steadiness in his eyes, the gentleness of his actions, all combined to dismantle her deepest fears, replacing them with a cautious optimism that this strange, quiet man might truly be a partner, not a captor. She found herself smiling, almost without realizing it, feeling a warmth she had long denied herself, a realization that perhaps love could start slowly, patiently, with understanding rather than grand gestures. That evening stretched into night, and she lingered by the porch, absorbing the stillness and the honesty between them, feeling a shift in her own heartbeat as she allowed herself to imagine a future where fear did not dictate her every move, where trust could grow from the unlikeliest beginnings, and where two souls scarred by life might find in each other not just companionship, but a chance to finally heal and be whole again, together. The next morning dawned with a storm brewing on the horizon, dark clouds rolling across the sky and winds whipping through the wide-open fields, and she found herself suddenly facing a danger she had never imagined, a runaway horse bolting across the ranch. Panicked and threatening to trample anything in its path, and without thinking, she sprang forward, shouting warnings and positioning herself to guide it safely, her pulse racing and hands trembling, yet determination steadying her every move, while the cowboy, usually so calm and distant, followed closely behind, trusting her judgment completely, letting her take the lead in controlling the chaos as he readied to act if anything went wrong, his eyes never leaving hers, filled with a mixture of concern and unwavering faith. And in those moments, as rain began to lash down and the horse's panic collided with their courage, she realized that the trust he had shown her was not conditional or fleeting but complete, that he believed in her even when she doubted herself, and that belief gave her strength she had never known, allowing her to feel capable and alive in the face of danger. Every instinct honed by fear and hope working together as they managed to calm the animal and lead it safely back to the stable, drenched and exhausted but triumphant. And when they finally stopped, panting and soaked to the bone, she looked up at him and saw something in his expression she had never seen before: relief, pride, and a quiet affection that made her chest ache with something she could only name as belonging. And in that instant, all the small gestures, the quiet patience, the gentle respect he had shown her over the past days, suddenly made sense, forming a picture of a man whose kindness was not a mask but a core part of who he was, a man who had been hurt but chose to care despite it. And she felt her own walls crumble even further as she realized that she wanted to be part of that trust, that she could choose to meet his openness with her own courage, that she could step forward not as a visitor or a burden, but as someone willing to share strength, fear, and hope equally. And as the storm eased into a drizzle, leaving the ranch glistening with wet earth and fresh air, she felt a quiet exhilaration, a sense of partnership forged in fire and fear, knowing that this was a turning point, a moment where their connection became real and undeniable, where danger had revealed not weakness but the depth of their mutual reliance. And when he finally reached out, brushing rain-soaked hair from her face and smiling softly, she realized that the choice to trust him had opened the door to something she had almost stopped believing existed, a bond not built on obligation or fear but on courage, respect, and the extraordinary possibility of love emerging from the unlikeliest beginnings. And in that fleeting, soaked moment, she understood that she was no longer just surviving the ranch or his presence. She was living it, feeling it, and for the first time, truly belonging, knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, side by side, hearts aligned in silent promise and newfound trust that nothing could undo. The sun dipped low behind the hills, painting the ranch in gold and amber, and she stood on the porch, feeling a peace she had never known, realizing that the fear and loneliness she carried had finally melted away. The cowboy walked beside her, quiet but present, his eyes soft with a trust and warmth that had taken days to reveal but now shone clearly. And she understood that safety and love were not given by force but earned through patience, respect, and quiet care. Every corner of the house, every field she had once feared, now felt alive with possibility, and she could feel the laughter and hope that had been missing filling the spaces between them. Her past still whispered in the shadows, but it no longer ruled her heart, because here, she was valued, seen, and truly at home. The ranch that had seemed empty and cold became a sanctuary, and in his steady presence, she finally embraced the love she never imagined could exist, knowing that this was not the end but the beginning of a life where trust, courage, and healing would grow together, unshakable and real.